Sasha buys beef jerky from a gas station in the middle of nowhere. She doesn't think twice about it. Later, she comes face to face with the man who made it. Those were actually good, she tells him. She doesn't know yet that it's made from the last person who tried to escape him, or the one before that, or the 20 bodies the police will eventually find hidden in a cave. But here's what's even more disturbing. Ben doesn't think he's a serial killer. He thinks he's performing a sacred ritual. And the anthropological record suggests that, in a very specific and very uncomfortable way, he has a point. This is Ben, the villain of Netflix's Apex, released just weeks ago. On the surface, he looks like any other movie monster. He lives alone in the Australian outback. He lures strangers into the wilderness. He kills them. He turns them into beef jerky and sells it at gas stations under the name Geno's Jerky. But watch him more carefully and something strange happens. Ben doesn't act like a predator who enjoys chaos. He has rules. When he chooses a victim, he gives them a head start. Time to run, time to fight back. He doesn't hunt people who are weak. He hunts people he considers worthy. He fights his teeth into sharp points, not as intimidation, but as part of a ritual he says he learned from an indigenous tribe. A ritual in which consuming parts of your victim transfers their spirit into you, their courage, their strength, their soul. And the first person he ever did this to? His mother. Her name was Geno, and she never left him because he made sure of it. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because Ben didn't invent any of this. The belief that consuming part of another person transfers their spirit into you, that's not fiction, that's anthropology. The Korowai tribe of Papua Indonesia, who's still living today in the deep rainforest, execute individuals they believe are evil sorceries and then eat them. Not out of hunger, out of justice, out of belief. They call these sorceries hahua, demons disguised as human beings, and consuming their flesh is how you neutralize the evil and protect your community. The Zulu warriors of southern Africa would consume the organs of enemies who had fought with exceptional courage. Not every enemy, only the worthy ones, because their belief was simple. You are what you eat, literally. And then there are the Aghori monks of Varanasi, India. They exist today, right now, living at cremation grounds on the banks of the Ganges River, meditating on human skulls, drinking from bowls made of bone, occasionally consuming flesh from corpses that float downstream. Their philosophy? There is no difference between the sacred and the profane, between life and death, between pure and impure. To break the ultimate taboo is to break the ego, and breaking the ego is the path to enlightenment. Across thousands of years, across dozens of cultures, human beings have consumed other human beings and called it sacred. So, if humans have been doing this for thousands of years, what exactly makes Ben different? To answer that question, we need to go back to 1913. Sigmund Freud studied tribal cannibalistic rituals across dozens of cultures and noticed something that nobody had paid attention to before. Every single one of these rituals had a social function. They built something, a community, a shared law, a collective meaning. The act of consuming another human being, as dark as it sounds, was never just about the individual performing it. It was about what that act created between people. It bound them together. It gave them a shared history, a shared guilt, a shared identity. That's what made it a ritual, not the act itself, but what the act was in service of. Now look at Ben. Ben performs his ritual alone, in secret. He hides the bodies. He manipulates his victims. He runs a game that nobody else knows the rules of, because nobody else is supposed to survive it. Nothing is built. Nobody is bound together. The only thing his ritual creates is more silence. He took the language of sacred tradition, the teeth, the consumption, the belief in spiritual transfer, and hollowed it out. What's left is just a shell of a ritual wrapped around something much darker. A man who cannot connect to another human being in any other way. So, who is Ben, really? The movie doesn't give us much, and that's worth saying out loud because any analysis that claims to fully explain Ben is probably making things up. What we do know is this. The first person Ben ever performed his ritual on was his mother. Her name was Jeno, and he named his beef jerky after her. Think about what that means for a moment. His mother wasn't a stranger who wandered into the wrong place. She was the origin, the first, which means whatever broke inside Ben, it broke there, in that relationship before any of this started. Freud would call this a failure of separation, the inability to let go of the primary attachment, the mother, in a healthy way. Most people mourn that separation gradually as they grow up. They internalize the parent, carry them symbolically, and move forward. Ben couldn't do that. So he found another way to keep her inside him, literally. But there's something even darker underneath. Ben didn't just want to keep his mother. He killed her and then he ate her. Freud had a name for this: ambivalence, the coexistence of love and hatred toward the same person at the same intensity at the same time. For most people, these two feelings exist in tension. We manage them, suppress them, negotiate between them. Ben couldn't negotiate, so he did both, completely, literally, and permanently. He destroyed her and he kept her forever. And every victim after her follows the same logic: worthy enough to hunt, worthy enough to consume, never worthy enough to simply be left alive. That's not a ritual. That's ambivalence with no way out. And here's what the movie quietly suggests. Every victim after her is an attempt to recreate that first moment, to feel that connection again, to not be alone. We don't know what his mother did to him or what he did to her first. The movie leaves that in the dark, maybe deliberately, because the details almost don't matter. What matters is the pattern. A man so unable to connect with another human being that he built an entire mythology around consumption, around taking people in, around never letting go. The ritual isn't about power. It's about loneliness. Ben isn't a monster who appeared out of nowhere. He's what happens when a human being loses every bridge to other human beings and decides to build something else entirely in their place.